the elephant in the room is a situation where you have friends defending friends. Is that something that people frown upon in the courts and so on? Because, I mean, we have a call. Good evening to you. This is NewsMaker Live. You're on the air.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you.
Alan Chastanet here.
Hi, good evening to you, Mr. Chastanet.
And good evening to my very good friend, Mr. Thaddeus Antoine.
Good evening, Mr. Chastanet. Hi.
Tim, there are so many questions to ask because I want to first congratulate you on a great job tonight and Thaddeus and attempting to bring clarity to this very difficult situation. So let me ask the question, because Thaddeus obviously is very aware of the details of this case. When did the car come to Saint Lucia?
December 2015, I believe, yes. It was just before Christmas time.
So it came December 2015?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the elections was not until when?
June 2016, June 6, 2016, I believe, yeah.
So the car came in on December.
Yes.
And elections was not until June.
Yes.
And that means that the controller of customs at the time was a gentleman called Mr. Fenelon.
Yeah,
and we've heard from other customs officials that normally when we have a pre-delivery,
mm-hmm.
that 30, 60 days, 90 days maximum.
Mm-hmm.
So don't you think that if this was a straightforward matter, that the entry would have been perfected before June of 2016?
I can't speak to that. I don't know why it was not perfected then. I mean,
okay.
the first time we knew of any issue with the vehicle as a perfect entry was in February of 2018, when we were invited to a meeting with customs.
And so you're talking about now 3 years after the car came in.
Yes.
Your client realized that the car's entry still had not been perfected.
Well, he was brought to his attention because at the end of the day, he was not the broker. The broker is supposed to, the Ministry of External Affairs broker was supposed to ensure that all the documents in place. It was only brought to his attention in 2018 by the Customs Department that your VAT is still outstanding.
So I don't think it was that the VAT was outstanding as that was brought to your client's attention.
No. Well, I wasn't. With all respect, Mr. Chastanet, I was the one who attended the meeting. I was the one who received the letter, and it said the VAT was outstanding. And they said to Dr. Hilaire that you had to pay the VAT. And we showed them the cabinet conclusion that says that all taxes for returning diplomats have to be paid by the government. That's what was raised.
And so now that your client is in government, he can verify some facts.
Yes.
So in fact, that is not really what happened. What actually triggered the action was when the audit department required a request of the inventory of all of the foreign officers.
Yeah, and but we would not have known that.
Wait a sec. I know that. I know you wouldn't have known that.
Okay.
And I did not know that either, because the audit department, as you know, acts independently from the Prime Minister and from all departments. It's a completely independent department. And as a result of that audit, it was discovered that there was a vehicle that was registered in the name of the High Commission. So the invoice was in the name of the High Commission. The registration of the vehicle was in the name of the High Commission.
Yes.
Permission was requested to get the car duty-free in the UK. Let's make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
And also permission was requested of the British authorities to allow the car to be exported.
Mm-hmm.
All in the name of the High Commission.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, by all appearances from the High Commission's office in the UK, it was an asset of the High Commission. And what they did is they sent that information to the CAPSEC, who then sent it to the custodian of all government assets, which is the Director of Finance.
Yes.
Right? The Director of Finance then investigated the matter and ascertained that there was no record of the state paying for a vehicle
That's right.
There was no record of the state
owning a vehicle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But accepted the fact that the documents were in the name of the High Commission.
Yes.
So they found out that the car in question was a vehicle that was registered here in Saint Lucia under the name of Dr. Hilaire.
Yes.
And they contacted and wrote Customs as a very famous letter of November 20th, 2017.
Yes.
In which they indicated to Customs all the information I provided you.
Yes.
And made a request of Customs that in order to determine the next steps, the ownership of the vehicle becomes essential.
Yes.
And that they asked Customs to confirm the ownership.
Yes.
And I believe that that's when they contacted you all. And the response that you and your client gave at the time was that this was a political witch hunt, and exactly what you said tonight, that your client had already provided all of the information, and that the fact that the car came in a consignment was, in your mind and your client's mind, sufficient evidence that he owned the car.
Yes.
Despite the fact that there was contrary evidence.
Well, produce the contrary evidence. Who alleges it was proved?
The contrary evidence becomes that in witness statements from the UK government, the car dealer, which is Range Rover, indicated the car was sold to the High Commission.
No.
I'm telling you, your client is now in government. He can go through the files and he can find a letter. And if you're happy, I will be happy to have a press conference tomorrow, and I will provide actually copies of those letters.
No, that's a matter for you. That's a matter for you.
No problem.
I have email exchanges.
Hold on, Mr. Chastanet, hold on.
I have email exchanges from Patrick Alford of Land Rover, who clearly shows that the vehicle was purchased by Tafara Williams.
That's not true.
Invoice.
So that's not true. So
that's not true.
No, it's not true.
I showed it to Tim early on. I showed it to him early on. Tim could confirm to you. So we doctored the emails as well?
But I can also show you now. That's exactly what was attempted to do. That it was attempted to purchase the car in the name of Tafara Williams. But when your client found out that Tafara Williams did not qualify as a diplomat, which he said in his own press conference.
No. Let's be clear. Tafara Williams was a diplomat.
Yes.
But the diplomat who already had a vehicle registered in his name.
So he could not
register another vehicle.
He could register another vehicle.
He could not.
He could. What he could not do. No, wait a second. What he could not do was register a second vehicle that would have been purchased duty free.
Diplomatic vehicle. Yes. That's
okay.
Right. Yes.
So he could not get one duty free. So the issue is about the duty. And the fact is that there is a letter on record of communication between Dr. Hilaire's secretary, Ms. Hamilton, and the FCO's office, in which the FCO says, further to our telephone conversation today, we now understand that you all made a mistake. And the car is not owned by Tafara Williams, but in fact the car is owned by the High Commission. So the fact is there is sufficient evidence to suggest that the car was deliberately put in the name of the High Commission.
Okay.
And I would suggest to you that it was done so in order to get the car duty-free in the UK.
And now, would you agree that Dr. Hilaire, as a diplomat, is entitled duty-free of a vehicle?
Yes, he is.
On the Vienna Convention?
Correct. And guess what? And this is what brings an interesting point to some of the things you said tonight. So, in fact, Dr. Hilaire purchased the car duty-free in the UK.
Yes.
And in fact, and I'm going to use this word very carefully, he lied to the British authorities.
You can't use a word as lied as being carefully. I'm jeopardizing Tim's show.
I'm speaking to you.
And jeopardizing Tim and TBS. That's been irresponsible.
I'm speaking to you so you can record
Mr. Former Prime Minister, let's be very careful there because
I am.
let's be very careful. If you don't have the evidence, let's be very careful.
I do have the evidence. I do have the evidence, and that's why I'm saying it. The fact is that he purchased the car in his name and then transferred the car over to his brother.
Yes.
And his brother Paul brought the car, which he was entitled to bring it in duty-free. But the fact is is that he lied to the British authorities and told the British authorities that it was his car. And it was because he purchased that car in his name, he could not qualify for a second duty-free vehicle.
So if I use a friend's discount to purchase a vehicle, right? Am I lying?
Yes, because you in order to have that duty-free, it had to be in your name. And I would ask.
But it was in my name, and I disposed of it.
No, but do you think that under the arrangement, diplomatic arrangement, that a diplomat from Saint Lucia, a senior diplomat, should do that? And then to make matters worse, attempted to do it a second time by putting the car into Fowler Williams' name. And when Tafalo was rejected because he could not qualify for the duty-free, he put it in the name of the High Commission. So here's the interesting point, is because it becomes registered in the name of the Saint Lucia High Commission, there are persons very qualified that would say that it became an asset of the state. And when it becomes an asset of the state, the only way to dispose of that asset is for the Director of Finance to agree.
But the Director of Finance has clearly said it was not an asset of the state. She has no record of it. You've not paid for it. Yes, it's not on your record.
There's no record. But you would agree based on the letters and everything else that the High Commission deliberately put the car in the name of the state.
Well, that's the matter for the High Commission, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's the matter for the High Commission, isn't it?
Is it? Really? The High Commission is a state authority.
Well, I'm saying that's a matter for them. It's not a matter for... No, it's a matter for the High Commission. They have decided what it did.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying that the High Commission had the authority...
I am not saying they had authority. They have no authority.
Register a car...
They have registered a car...
in the name of the High Commission.
In the name of the High Commission.
Obtaining a friend's discount in order then to give that discount to Ernest. So the problem now is when the car arrived, and we now have established the fact that the car arrived in December of 2015. 6 months went by under federal law. Let's call it your neutral controller of customs. And the car was not cleared. And in fact, it is very extraordinary that a car that has not been cleared becomes registered at the Ministry of Transportation, and that becomes another topic of subject. But I want to bring it back to really the quintessential point here, in that you're saying that the most important thing is that the VAT be paid by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So let us agree. Yes. Let us agree that all returning diplomats benefit from a duty-free car, and that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will pay for the transportation of that car.
Yes.
And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would also pay for the VAT of the car.
Yes.
But it's under the presumption that the car belongs to them, because that benefit is not transferable. So even if I was to come in as a returning diplomat, I could not have the car in my wife's name. I could not have it in my father's name. I could not have it in my friend's name.
But whose name was the car when it came to Saint Lucia?
That's the issue. He declared that the car was in his name, and when Customs found out through the Ministry of Finance that, in fact, that there was evidence to show that the car was actually registered in the name of the High Commission.
No. Let's get clear. The vehicle, Mr. Chastanet.
Hold that point.
The vehicle was deregistered. It was deregistered.
By who?
It was by the High Commission. The vehicle was deregistered in the UK. The plates were returned. No. The vehicle was deregistered.
Sir, I would beg to differ with you.
The vehicle was deregistered.
The High Commission is a government of Saint Lucia office.
Yes.
Okay? And once the vehicle becomes an asset of the High Commission, it becomes an asset of the state.
But it never became the asset of the High Commission.
It did. It was registered in the name. The invoice is in. Well, how come when Tafalo Williams, Tafalo put the first deposit in his name, and the first copy of the invoice was in his name.
Yes.
When he went now to pay the remaining amount of the car, he changed the invoice into the name of the High Commission.
And I showed Tim why that was done.
Why was it done?
Because the registration of the vehicle and the invoice had to coincide.
Why?
They had to coincide.
That's not true,
the dealer said...
That's not true. Well, so then let me ask you a question. When you go back to the vehicle that was bought by Ernest, that was for his brother, the invoice and everything else was in his name.
Yes.
So
I was registered in his name.
Why couldn't have Ernest put everything in his name?
Because Ernest was no longer in is no longer in the UK, and he no longer could purchase a vehicle. He was no longer in England to purchase the vehicle, and he could no longer get the diplomatic discount from Land Rover. He gets from BMW or Mercedes, but not from Land Rover, because as a policy, they allow one vehicle purchase per year.
No, sir. It's not for Land Rover. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. And so the reality is that the car was put in the name of the High Commission.
And it was removed in the name of the High Commission.
It cannot. How does it get removed?
Because it was deregistered.
Deregistered by whom?
By the High Commission.
But the High Commission doesn't have the authority once it becomes an asset of the state. So the fact is that your client did not reveal and did not seek the appropriate permissions to have that happen. You cannot,
Mr. Chastanet,
I'm at a loss. It was deregistered.
You cannot use the state. So,
Mr. Chastanet, one more minute here because I want to take some other calls. Go ahead.
Because let me just, no problem. And let me just say this. So the issue here really becomes about ownership. And therefore, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs could not pay the VAT until the ownership was established.
Okay.
And that was also confirmed by the letter of the Director of Finance. And what your client has failed to do at this point is to prove that. Now, the fact is...
But Mr. Chastanet, we have a democratic system.
I only have a minute left.
It's a democratic system, and he has no owners to prove anything.
Okay, but then there's evidence that you were provided with that showed the car was registered in the name of the High Commission.
Yes.
And this is where maybe you're having to go back and reflect, because you are under the belief or it seems to be that the High Commission is a separate entity of the government of Saint Lucia. It is a body of the government of Saint Lucia. And it's not as simple as the High Commission making the determination by itself.
But Mr. Chastanet, are you aware that registration is a presumption of ownership?
Sir?
Are you aware that registration is a presumption of ownership?
Okay.
Yeah?
And what does that mean?
But if I could show I paid for the vehicle, and you have confirmed...
So you're talking about a beneficial owner, but in this...
No.
But in this...
It's a presumption of ownership.
But sir,
a rebuttable presumption.
When Paul Hilaire gave the money to Ernest to pay for the car...
Yes.
Ernest had their legal right to transfer the car or gift the car back to his brother. But I'm asking you, once the car becomes registered in the name of the state, the Financial Act takes over.
No, but
the way that a state asset is disposed is through the Director of Finance. So the fact is that the Director of Finance and the government of Saint Lucia and all of the authorities were not informed of what he was doing. He acted unilaterally and caused the car to be in. And I would suggest to you the reason why he caused the car to be done that way is because he benefited from the duty-free. If the car was in his name, he would have only benefited from the VAT-free and not the duty-free. And what is so sad, and this is the reality.
What duty-free are you talking about?
In the UK,
VAT, the VAT, yeah.
No. Every diplomat gets VAT-free.
Yes.
What he benefited from was the TX26 form that gives it to him duty-free.
Mm-hmm.
£3,000. That is what your client did all of this for. Mm-hmm. And in the process of doing this and in denying what has happened and taking responsibility for what happened and making allegations against everybody asunder that everybody else was wrong and he was right, he is now brought into question customs. Because it is hard to believe that a customs authority, with something as basic and simple, that this has been going on for 6 years. But I will also have a press conference tomorrow, and I will provide all of the evidence of the communications that showed that the car was deliberately registered in the name of the Saint Lucia High Commission.
Okay, thank you so much.